Okay, we should be recording now. Good morning, everybody. How are y'all? Everybody staying dry? Trying to? All right. Well, does anybody have any topics you want to add to the agenda today? And please, this is designed to set up for you all to have discussion, not for me just to talk. So we want to discuss things that are pertinent to things you're doing now, what you need help with. Alex, I've added to the agenda to talk about OAE 4HA, so if you'll be prepared to share that information, that'd be good. Anybody have anything else? Okay, well, if you think of something, please jump in. So the first thing I put on the agenda was Roundup registration, and I know they're going to have 2 webinars, and I would first of all say plan to participate in one of those webinars either on May 6th or May 16th. One's in the morning and one's in the afternoon. Jeff sent an email yesterday with all the details about Roundup. So everything's been posted to the website, and that link is in the email. Some things that they shared with us at 4-H staff conference last week that I just want to point out to you so that you make sure you pay attention to these things is, one, there will be, if you forget or choose not to put down 2 people to get the free registration spaces, that could be any adult, volunteer, educators, it doesn't matter, any 2. It could be both female, both male, it doesn't matter. Just 2 people. If you fail to put that down, put that number so that that registration fee for those 2 people is deducted from your total registration, there will be no overs. No registration reimbursement because you forgot to do that. The last 3 years, there's been issues with that, and with 3 years behind us with that, they've made that decision that there will be no overs if you forget to do that. So make sure that you follow every single line of the registration form and fill everything in. And if you have 2 chaperones going, and that can be you and one other, or 2 volunteers, whatever you choose, then make sure that you are putting a number 2 in that section, or if there's just one of you going, put a 1 there so that that registration fee is deducted. Other things, there's because we've had trouble in the past with youth and or volunteers registering for Roundup that are not either a certified volunteer or an active 4-H member, they're asking you to flag your members and there'll be instructions in the webinars and include that report of your flagged 4-H members that are attending Roundup, so that when you generate that report, it'll show whether or not they're active or pending or whatever. And that'll be a double check for you to make sure your kids are all enrolled. And then also your volunteers, making sure that they're certified volunteers and have completed everything. And so there's help sheets that have been developed, and there's links to those help sheets in that checklist that's on the website, and I can pull that up for you to see. I have them open if you want me to pull them up. Do y'all want to see the county check sheet? Here's the check sheet. Can y'all see it? Okay. So here in the center section, it says new this year. So it says you have to flag all youth and volunteer chaperones attending Roundup and add them to the group Roundup State. And there's a help sheet there. And then there's also, they're asking you to make sure that every youth and adult has their health forms updated on 4-H Online, and there's a help sheet for that. There's a place in their health form for them, once they've reviewed it, to put the most current date that they've reviewed that information, and that's what you're going to ask them to review, and then change that date to make sure that their health form has been reviewed recent, current to close to Roundup, and there may be parameters in that help sheet that says the date has to be within this range of dates, like May 1 till June 30th or whatever. So, and there'll be a report for you to run so you can see if their health information is all correct. I'm not sure you'll have to even print those unless you choose to print them and put them in a binder. They're asking for everybody to have that information complete in 4-H online, so that'll be something you'll need to listen for in the webinar, because I don't know all the rest of the details. This is all I know, is these 2 documents have been added for you to do as a double check for your enrollment and your health forms. Any questions about that? Sorry, I'm writing other people's names down so I can give credit. Jared. Okay. Okay, so another thing that was brought to our attention at the staff meeting was that there's been a number of times where an educator or volunteer has taken someone to the ER or to urgent care or something for treatment, and there was no incident report filed with the Roundup headquarters. And that's extremely important for documentation, that if you have anyone you take to the emergency room or you have any kind of accident and you have to get the first aid kit out and give treatment, whatever it is, you need to make sure you're turning in an accident report form to Kathy or Jeff, or whatever they designate where you should turn those in during Roundup. Okay, don't let that go by and forget all about it and never turn anything in, because if that family up and decided to they wanted to file a claim and there's no documentation to support the need for that claim to be filed, that's an issue. So just put some blank incident and accident report forms in your notebook that you're going to carry to Roundup with your release forms and whatever else you have. And make sure that if something does happen, that you're communicating that to the appropriate person. The next thing on there is job readiness. There's been some changes in that contest. So if you have youth that are participating in that, specifically intermediate age kids, they will actually be participating in an interview this year, just like the seniors will. They won't go to a workshop. They'll participate in an interview. So make sure you review, if you have kids in that contest that are intermediate age, that you're reviewing that information online. I really liked that they put this flyer together that gives a description of all the contests at Roundup. That was attached to the email that Jeff sent out. That's a really nice document, something that would be great to share with your kids going to Roundup as you do registration, to encourage them to participate in those contests. So that's a good resource. What other questions do you have about Roundup? So some of you more experienced educators, Jerry, Becky, Jared, Barbara, would some of you like to share how you do your orientation meeting for Roundup and how you handle Roundup registration? Because I know some of you have some really good strategies for how you do that. Jerry, do you have a microphone?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, can you share, please?
Well, I usually always use the little PowerPoint that they put together. Then we go over behavior. I concentrate on dress and what they should bring. I don't know that we do anything particularly special. We make sure that they've got their things, their forms all filled out correctly. They're encouraging each other to participate in events or picking out workshops that relate to their project areas, things that are going to actually help them and not just looking for a good old fun time, because I want them to be serious about being there and basically, you know, going over behavior and what's expected of them and how to get around campus.
Okay, Becky, anything to add?
Well, I'm actually working on mine this morning because mine is Monday, so I'm was glad to see all that yesterday. But I use this little handout. I'm sure you can't see that too closely, but I don't know if I haven't got that far on the website yet to see if this little brochure is still there. But this is something that I use usually. Once I get it updated, I'm happy to share it with anybody with all this year's information. But I cover this, and also last year, and pretty much the same stuff Jerry covers, but last year my group was a pretty veteran group, and so they don't want to don't want to sit and listen to me read this to them, so I don't read it to them. What I did was I came up with a list of questions that they had to answer, and each one of them had to answer at least one question before they could leave that night, and then some of them answered more than one, but I kind of tried to make it a little bit more fun for those that have been for several years in a row. But I really just follow this. It has everything in it, and then once I post this on the website, so when they start texting me about certain things, I go read what I already gave you on the website. So this has been a good tool for me to use, is this right here. Plus, they can take it home and share it with the parent or put it on the refrigerator. That's where I tell them to put it, so they have it. But I would just say, too, for Roundup, just make sure that this check sheet that's on the screen is do use it. It's very helpful. As I get stuff done, I mark it off. That way, I know that I've done everything that's been asked of me to do. But yeah, I just pay attention to the details of what they're asking for. It'll save you headaches for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing that I wanted to share with you that they're working on is, it's always a struggle on Thursday to leave the assembly, get kids back to the dorm to eat lunch, and then to workshops or contests or whatever. So they're working on providing lunch at Gallagher-Iba, and they're working with Chick-fil-A. So that'll be one less meal in the dorm, and the kids won't have to leave Gallagher-Iba to have to go eat lunch at the dorm. And that'll save some time in the heat and make it more feasible for kids to get to their locations for the afternoon. So that, I think, will be a great change to Roundup with regard to meal service. The other thing that I learned about on Thursday, because I didn't get to participate in the committee meeting when they had it earlier in the year, was there will be a capstone speaker on Friday morning. So not just 4-HS talent and whatever else that they have to cover. So I would encourage you to plan to stay for the whole closing assembly and not leave early to go to Eskimo Joe's to eat lunch or wherever else you need to go eat lunch. So plan to stay through the whole assembly. There's nothing more frustrating for the planning committee, the state council, those people who have put a lot of work into this event, to see people trickle out all through the morning assembly, and then the building be half empty already by the time we get to the end. So the conference lasts till almost lunch, so plan to stay until it's over. Let's see if there's anything else on my list. What's the due date for when it has to be postmarked by? Has anybody read that far yet? It's in that email that Jeff sent. It's June the 10th. It has to be postmarked if you send through U.S. Postal Service by June the 10th. My recommendation is that you send, if you're going to have to ship your materials and not drop them off, which I wouldn't expect you all to drive to Stillwater just to turn this in, is to ship it FedEx or UPS so that it will get directly to that office quicker than going through the postal service. Just like Roundup record book, or just like record books. How are y'all using that program, the scholarship for 2 free spaces in your county? Are you dividing that up among your chaperones to give them a little discount? Do you all pay for your chaperones out of county funds anyway? Let's talk about how you fund chaperones to go to Roundup.
Mine goes towards my volunteers. I have travel money, so I'll be using my travel money, but it'll go towards volunteers.
Okay. Anybody take volunteers besides, in addition to educators? Becky's absolutely right. If you have travel funds, it's best to use those 2 chaperone spots for chaperone. I mean, those 2 free spots for chaperones, because they're giving up time away from work in some cases, as well as providing transportation to the event. And so that's a great thank you to those volunteers to use those chaperone or those free spots for that purpose. Anything else on Roundup? I really liked what Jerry said about making sure kids are selecting workshops that fit with their project areas so that they can come home with ideas and resources that they can share with other kids in those project areas or in their county in general. Jeff spoke very highly of the workshops that were submitted. I don't know if any of you worked with youth to put together and submit a workshop proposal. He said there was every single application that came in met that requirement of having a youth adult partnership to teach the workshop, which I think is a great move to have for those kids to have that support from a volunteer or educator there to help them with their workshop. So if you have youth that are going to be presenting workshops, don't just plan to drop them off if you're supposed to be the partner. It's your responsibility to be there at that workshop, whoever is assigned as the adult person partnering with them. Even though they might be quite capable of handling that workshop on their own because they may have taught it before on their own, that's not the purpose of that requirement. You should follow through with having that significant adult there to support and help them as they need help. So yes, we want the kids to be in a leadership role in teaching, but they need guidance and support at times, and you never know what will happen in a workshop room. So just make sure that you're following through, or whoever's assigned to do that is following through with that responsibility as an adult.
Cheryl, are the workshops first come, first serve?
Yeah, they're basically assigned as they come in, as far as I know. So the earlier you get your registration in, the better chance they have of getting the workshops that they select in that first spot. So now with regard, there used to be a big rush for registration because of lodging, but that's not an issue anymore. It's really more so with regard to the workshops now. So yes, the earlier you get your registration in, the better chance you have of getting those workshops that they choose as their first option. And every workshop will have a maximum number of registrants. And, you know, some of those that are at the Colvin, that's, you know, swimming, water polo, whatever, you know, you'll know ahead of time what they're selected for or what they've been assigned to, so they can pack accordingly.
Cheryl?
Yeah.
Also on those workshops, if you have, especially if you have newbies, you know, that think they have to have a buddy everywhere they go, the AgCom, they will split them up. If you have several that signed up for the same workshops, they will split them up. They'll put maybe 2 in one, and they'll go to the next choice, and they spread it out too, so one county doesn't have a whole bunch in one thing.
Yeah, so it's better to put
I
them
try
in.
to encourage them to be individuals.
Yeah,
We will help them get where they need to be.
yeah.
It's fun.
One thing that they did tell us last week too is that there's a lot of construction going on campus, and so workshop rooms is a little bit of a challenge. So, like, I mean, as far as I know, what they had been told is that the classroom building, which they use heavily for workshops, was going to be completely unavailable and under construction. So they're still working on, well, I'm assuming they're still, I guess if there's a schedule up there that has the rooms assigned already, then they may have it all worked out. But anyway, that's going to be, just so you know, there will be construction. There will be some things that we won't have access to like we have had in the past. So workshops may be in different locations than what we've been used to going to.
Well, and that's a good point too, because sometimes they change and kids have to be responsible enough to go note where they've been changed and find that new location.
Right. And they'll usually make those announcements in the assemblies. It'll be in the app. There will be an app, I'm assuming, again this year, that'll have the schedule and everything in there. So that'll be something else to encourage your kids to download the app and utilize it as much as they can, because they can tag the things on their schedule. You know, we won't have a printed schedule booklet. You'll get the small schedules they can put in their name tags, or you can print those. I'm not sure how that is all working, but the app is very useful in case they lose their schedule and whatnot. So okay. Other things I had on the list was Jeff has added a new in-service on November 14th at the Science Museum. It's a STEM in-service, and it's being put on by another group. I can't remember what the organization is, but they are going to be, it's a limited registration. I think it's like 30 people. Every person that registers and shows up will get $100 worth of materials, of things that you can use based on the activities you're going to be seeing at the workshop. So if you're really into STEM, I would encourage you to go to the in-service website and register for that in-service, because you will come home with $100 worth of something to be able to implement in programming. Anybody have any creative STEM programming they've been doing or are working on implementing for like a summer workshop? Nobody?
Our FRC team is going to teach Lego robots.
Can y'all hear Ruth?
No.
We didn't hear you very well, Ruth.
Our FRC team, they're going to be teaching Lego robots.
For a summer workshop?
Yes.
Very good.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
We're doing a library program for the summer. Well, it's just a week, but we're doing it over weather and space.
Okay, good.
Our sewing group is working on the kids understanding the engineering behind the creativity there.
Very good. You know, I would really encourage you all to send volunteers to the State Parent Volunteer Conference. This year they're going to focus on STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. And the workshops are going to be very intentional as to focusing on STEAM and addressing the outcomes of the evaluation. That's why they required instructors to go through a webinar with Carla because they want to make sure instructors all understand what the goals of the conference is and what they're going to be measuring in the evaluation. And so I think there will be some really good offerings for volunteers related to a multitude of project areas that all tie back to STEM or to STEAM. And so encourage your volunteers to participate in that. It's also a great conference for you to go with your volunteers and to gain some ideas as well. Oftentimes at that conference, you will find ideas that you can use for volunteer training to just replicate those trainings back in your county. I know Casey had emailed me earlier this week about ideas for volunteer training that she's got coming up, and so I shared some suggestions with her, and I know that that's a struggle for all of you at times to figure out, oh, I feel like I've covered this over and over and over. What can I find that's new and different? And so that's a great resource, is that Parent Volunteer Conference in June as well. Okay, I mentioned this on the last webinar, but I want to say it again because it is a definite, for sure, change. Enrollment, the 4-H Online will close down July 15th. It is my recommendation very, very strongly that you have your group enrollment, even if you have to estimate something that is after July 15th, estimate participation, get your group enrollment completed before July 15th. That's all your school enrichment, any special interest programming like at Boys and Girls Club, the library programs, anything of that nature, all of your participation in county, district, and state events and activities. So if you're using that checklist that I shared with you last time and have sent out numerous times in email, you should just be very easily able to go down that checklist and say, yep, I had kids participate in that. Let me pull the registration form list so that I know how many. Or no, I didn't have anybody participate in Animal Science Field Day and skip that one. You know, so you should be able to easily go down that list and get that stuff entered. Empower your support staff to take those sign-in sheets or the registration lists for district, state, county contests and do that for you. It's an easy, easy thing to do for them to mark kids that participate in those events and activities. And they could also be doing group enrollment for you as well. So as long as you're providing them the group enrollment form with the information that's needed for the audience that was reached. So please ask questions of me if you are unsure how to flag members and add them to a group, or how to enter group enrollment. I'm here to help you work through that. So then after it closes down on July the 15th, Carla will make revisions for the coming 4-H year. And then enrollment will open on August the 1st, so that those of you who want to have a sign-up night in August when school starts at your first 4-H club meeting or open house at the school or whatever the case may be, you will have the ability to do that. Membership will be based on, our grade in school will be based on their grade on September 1. That will not change from the past few years. So that will still be the criteria on which your 4-H age will be based, is September 1. The other thing that'll be new this year is, we've set up a rotation for every 4 years. Volunteers, every volunteer that's returning will have to go through the, what's the word? Screening process. So this next year is the 2019, beginning in August, is the Southeast District's turn. So all of your returning volunteers, when they go in and log in and get ready to re-enroll for the year, the application will automatically be there for them to complete the volunteer application again. You will have to run verified volunteers on those volunteers. all of the same procedure as if it were a new volunteer. And then any new volunteers you will have to do as well. So across the board in the Southeast District, every volunteer will have to go through screening in the 2019-20 year. So I would begin preparing your volunteers now that is coming, so that they don't get blindsided when they open their enrollment and start to work on their re-enrollment and they have to fill that application part out again, because it will be there. The other thing that we have asked the state office to check on is that health forms be required fields, so that everyone would have to fill that out, so that you don't have to ever print a copy of a health form again, unless you just want to have a physical copy to take with you. So I just feel like, you know, we all just feel like it's a tool that we have access to. There's no reason to have to ask people to fill it out online, or suggest they fill it out online and then turn around and come back and say, okay, we're going to Roundup, now you got to fill out this paper health form. So now they've had to do it twice. And so we're asking that question. We do not have an answer yet, because that'll have to come from legal counsel, I believe. So just so you know, it is okay for you to say it's required in this county. If people still choose not to do it, so be it. You can't force them to, because if the fields are not required, they can still move through those sections. But I would, you know, just keep that in mind, and we'll know more as, you know, when we hear more from the state office, we'll let you know. But that we have asked for that to be done, so that you don't have to worry about health forms not being completed. Any questions about enrollment? I asked the question the other day at the staff meeting about, okay, so counties still have people who haven't paid, and they still have volunteers that have not completed verified volunteers, so the agents haven't been able to complete their enrollment. What's going to happen to their record whenever July 15th happens and we do rollover to start a new year? And the answer was, if they are returning members or volunteers, they're just basically archived, and that year of enrollment will not count. So their number of years in 4-H won't go up a year if they decide to enroll this next year. So again, I'm just going to continue to encourage you, if you still have people out there, get your records cleaned up. If you still have members that haven't paid and you sent multiple requests for them to come in and pay, I would either, if they're brand new, I would delete them. If they're returning from last year, there's other documentation or history connected to that record, and you cannot delete it. You just have to archive it, or whatever the word is at the bottom of the screen. So just try to get your records cleaned up. It'll just help things along. I know you can only do so much, and you only have so much time, and so do your secretaries. So just do the best you can to clean those records up before July 15th. Okay, Alex, are you ready to talk about OE 4HA?
Sure. I sent out an email to everyone. Hopefully everyone got it last week. And I'm trying to find all my stuff really quick.
I'll stop sharing, so if you want to share, you can.
Oh, okay. I don't even know how to do that. So our theme this year is 4-H. It's what we do. It's going to be held July 31st through August 2nd at the Chickasaw Conference and Retreat Center in Sulphur. And let's see, a full registration is going to be $85. And that does not include the tour or the lunch for the tour. The tour and the lunch is going to be an extra $12. We're going to go for our tour to the Chickasaw Cultural Center in Sulphur. It's really neat. It's going to be outside, so I've scheduled it for the morning. Some of it is outside, some of it's inside. So I've scheduled it for the morning, so hopefully it's not too hot. But we will be doing that. We've got a lady coming from Arkansas that will be doing 2 workshops for us, and she will also be speaking at one of our meetings that we're going to have.
She's from Georgia.
Georgia, okay. And so she will be there, so that'll be a new fresh face that we get to see. Thank you, Everett.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Registration is going to be due to my office by July 5th, or postmarked by July 5th. And you don't have to do a full registration if you don't want to. I know Jerry emailed me about just because she's so close, about staying home and doing the tours and everything. Yes, that's fine, Jerry. I was going to get back with you today. But so those are some options on the registration as well. And let me pull up. That's not what I wanted. We also are doing a kind of like a picnic dinner like we did last year. And the Oklahoma Port Council is sponsoring it for food that night. And it's going to be July 31st. And we are going to be doing it at the Murray County Extension Office right there in Sulphur. So it's just gonna be some fun games and mingle time and just getting together and having some dinner. And then we will be having our awards banquet like usual on August 1st. And it'll be there at the conference center. And did I miss anything, Cheryl? What else would you like me to talk about?
I think that you covered it, everything.
Okay.
Casey, the person that's coming that she referenced is the regional director,
Yes.
one of the Southern Region directors, and Casey Bozeman is her name. She's extremely energetic, a very high quality presenter. I think you'll really enjoy her workshops and presentations. I've been to, had attended the Georgia conference a couple of years ago when I was regional director, and went to one of her workshops, and man, it was phenomenal. Really, really good. Very creative. And she's just moved into a state specialist position. I think it's natural resources focused, but she has done tons of STEM programming and has worked with military programming in the past as well, and she'll be a high quality speaker. So
good. She's doing a workshop on team building and creativity. So we'll see. I'm excited to see what she's got for us. And then we're also doing a workshop. It's called Spark It Up, and it's about marketing our program and different things that we can do on the computer to help get our name out there and things like that for all your programs. And then we also have Growing Clover Buds. So it's a Clover Bud workshop that we've got for everyone. So that's kind of everything I have.
any questions for Alex? One thing I will say is to remind you that involvement in your professional associations is important in career ladder promotion. So moving from a level 1 to a level 2, you need to be engaged in committees or in a leadership role, participating as a member. As you move from a 2 to a 3, you need to have more involvement. And it doesn't just mean on the state level. I mean, I would encourage participation on the regional or national level with committees and things of that nature as well. So I have found that I've really gained a lot of knowledge and experience through participating outside of the state with the professional association. And I know it takes a lot of money to go to those conferences, but to me, it's worth the investment, because as a county educator, especially when I was still in the county, I really gained a lot of great ideas from those conferences as far as the workshops were concerned. And I know Becky has been to a number as well, and I've seen her implement workshops and programming back in her county that she went to workshops. And feel free, Becky, if you have ideas, examples to share there as well. You're muted.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
I don't know what happened here, but anyway. Yes, I would say if you have the funds or find the funds to go and learn about that, because like I said, I've come back. That's how my whole social media education stuff started way back. I don't even know when, 2007 or something. That's how all that started. It was because I went to a workshop that just sparked my interest in that, and came home and and taught workshops to all kinds of people. But yeah, if you can find the money to go, I suggest that you do start going. You don't have to go every year, but find a time to go, because it really does just enhance your programming. And sometimes I got ideas that I didn't use till a year later, but then I needed it, so it came about. But I've been a reviewer for workshops for national meetings, and the quality that you see, even just in the ones that don't make it, are still really good. So it's fun to see what everyone else is doing too, and then you also realize I'm not so shabby after all, because you see what you're doing. You sometimes you don't think what you're doing is making a difference, but it really is. So it kind of just shows you that can happen too.
Is anybody going to the Greenbrier this year for NAE 4HA? I think registration may open today for that. And just FYI, they were shooting for May 1st to get that opened up for people to start registering. So if anybody does decide to go, there is a coupon code on the conference website for airlines through Delta. I'm not sure which airlines it is, but you click on that link and it takes you directly to a place to book your tickets, and it's a significantly cheaper ticket that will fly directly into what's the name of the city? The town where the Greenbrier is closest to, and then there'll be a free shuttle, I think, to the hotel. So because if you go through on your own or through the travel on campus, it's going to be significantly higher than that fee. So I haven't done mine yet, but I'm hoping to this next week get all that done. Okay, what else you need to talk about? It's 9:44. We got 15 minutes unless there's nothing else you want to talk about. Looking at who's on here so I can. Contest registrations coming up. Horse show needed to be postmarked yesterday. Did anybody send registrations for horse show that weren't on that list? Katie, Sherry has yours, by the way. She said you dropped yours off.
Yeah, I did. She emailed me yesterday and told me.
Okay. And Casey, Coy had emailed. Yes, we had Seminoles. She just didn't tell me until after I already hit the send button. So does anybody else have registrations that are coming for horse show? Cole County, y'all not have any? Audra? Garvin County? Melissa's not listening.
None for Cole County this year.
Nothing for Cole County. Okay. So if you do not have any registrations, it would be nice if you just send a little email to Sherry saying, I don't have any horse show entries. That way we don't have to worry about calling y'all next week and saying, okay, we're just double checking because we got to order shirts and all that other stuff as we start processing registrations. So just give her a heads up because she'll be the one taking all the entries. So shooting sports, I think, is the next thing that's due for trap and skeet. And I'll be sending an email out, but just a heads up that for those of you that have kids participating in that, there will be a concession stand. The Pontotoc County Shooting Sports Program is going to have a concession stand. And Becky, I forgot to ask this question. Will it be Friday and Saturday?
I'm assuming yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they actually one of our shotgun instructors actually has a trailer that's a concession, and he's going to be bringing that, so it should be nice.
Very good. And I'll send the menu out. I have that. Becky sent that to me. I just was waiting till I had other information about the contest to send reminders out. So I'll send that as well, so you can share that with your folks and encourage them to patronize the concession stand at the contest and support that fundraising effort. Just a reminder, I mean, this will be in the email too, but every contestant and coach needs to be at orientation at the beginning before each contest begins. So on Friday, whatever time the schedule will say for skeet orientation, everyone has to be there. If they're not there, they won't get to participate because everybody needs to hear the rules, and everybody has to be checked in, because if somebody doesn't show, we may move people around on ranges and move them up to a different shooting time. That's one reason why we do not share the squatting list ahead of time, because we don't want people to go, oh, I'm not until the third squatting deal. I won't have to be there till 3 o'clock, and then they not be there for orientation. And so no squatting information will be sent out. Everybody has to be there for orientation on both, whichever day that they're competing, or for both days if they're competing in both. So I'll reiterate that in the email along with some other reminders as well, but just wanted to give you a heads up there. Food Showdown, Consumer Judging, FCS Skillathon, all of that's due the 9th. And the 10th is Leadership Leap. Please encourage kids that are 4-H members to bring a friend who's not a 4-H member that fits that age criteria for that event. That'd be a great recruitment activity for folks to participate in. We will debut at Leadership Leap the Breakout EDU kits, which is the escape room kits. We've purchased backpacks to go with each kit, and each kit looks like this. It has a box that has another box, and then it has another box that has all of the supplies with the locks and other, like the little glow-in-the-dark flashlight, the red viewer, dry erase markers, a whole bunch of things that you use for the kits. So one of the workshops will be using the Breakout EDU kits and kids having to solve a problem. Then I've already purchased to have all the supplies for some of the problems to solve some additional things, like this is a CD, a music CD, and a little notebook that you can write different things in. And this is something that as we develop programs for this, like this one has an agenda for a dance workshop that's a part of one of the things. We'll be adding other things. So this little notebook can be used for multiple different activities for Breakout EDU, and that makes it a little more challenging as they have to find the information that's pertinent to their situation in the notebook. So that's something that can be used for multiple different things. So I've only written one. I'm working on the second one. My goal is to get 3 done this summer. So those will be available for you all to check out. There's 6 kits, so you could have 6 groups going with the same challenge with each group. And the way I'm developing these, everything in the kit that's paper will be laminated, and the dry erase markers can be used to write on these. So like this one is a crossword puzzle. So they can fill out the crossword puzzle with the dry erase markers, and then they can be erased to be reused over and over and over. And there'll be 6 sets of materials, and on every set, on every piece, there'll be a kit number, so you know what materials go with what kit, and you can make sure you have everything there. So my intention is to get folders or big envelopes to put all the materials, paper materials for a kit, and have that in the tub with the kits, so that when you check that out, you have something already written that you can use in your county if you don't have time to write your own. They are a challenge to write, I can tell you that. You have to think backwards. You have to start from the inside, the last challenge, and work your way back in order to write your situations, and plan what lock's going to unlock what, and what activity are they going to have to do to figure that out. It's a pretty challenging problem-solving, critical thinking activity just to develop those things. And so I've gotten some examples from some other states that are 4-H focused, and they have been a huge help to figure out how to write them. We have access to an online database through Breakout EDU, but it is heavily school focused, like classroom focused on a science activity or an English activity, or whatever. So you could adapt those, but when I found some 4-H examples from some other states, I tapped into that first, and I haven't really used anything on that website, but we'll make that in the information about the Breakout EDU. It's just a 1-year subscription. So we'll make that login available so you can access that if you so choose to check this kit out. It's not ready to check out. I'm still working on instructions and inventory list, because this, with all the moving pieces, and this is an $800 investment in the district. There will be a much more serious check-in and check-out system with this, with checking every item off to make sure every item's accounted for in every kit, because to replace locks and any of those other specialty items, we don't have a budget to do that. So it'll be important for if you use them, to make sure that you're taking really good care of them. And something along the lines of the escape room is going to be the theme for YAC this year. And that will be one of the features of YAC, as well as one of the workshops will be using the Breakout EDU kits for the high school kids too. Any questions about that? You like that idea? Cool. What else? Anything?
Cheryl,
Yeah.
the district horse show concession, has that been determined, or
I have
we need to do something about that, or what?
I have never heard anything back from Junior. At this point, I would say if you don't want to mess with it, don't mess with it.
Well, I have a volunteer that's interested, so I
would
need
just
to know so I can, so she don't go on vacation or something.
Yeah, I would just contact Junior directly and just say, I need to know, I need an answer, and I need it by this date, because this volunteer needs to know if they're going to be able to.
He's probably already forgot about it by now.
Yeah, Justin was supposed to follow up with him to get the okay from the concession vendor that it was okay to do that, and they weren't going to come in and do it, but I hadn't heard anything back, so I would just call Junior directly.
Okay.
Thank you for asking. If you find out that it's okay, and you want to do a price list again, similar to what you did before for the horse show, I'll be happy to share that in the information letter that'll go out to the contestants. It'll probably be mid-May before we'll send that out once she gets all the registration process, but we do send a physical letter.
Yeah, the volunteer that's interested in doing is the one that does ours at the fairs and the livestock show. So I assume it'll be similar to what we do.
Yeah.
for
Okay.
that. So that part won't be much work. I mean, it's already set. So
Yeah, that'd be great. Okay, if there's no other questions, comments, suggestions, kudos. Oh, I do have a kudo. Ruth has a state winning land judging team, and they're competing in the national contest this next week. I saw pictures on Facebook of them practicing in the rain yesterday. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, we got a little waterlogged yesterday.
Yeah.
they'll win.
So
I
good
hope.
luck. Good luck to all of that team that's competing there. That'll be awesome. The only other thing I can think to tell you is you may start to get questions, and may already have had questions about, well, the state horse show is going to be in October, not in the summer. How's that going to affect our graduating seniors? And how are we going to register, and all of that information. And so Horse Council met on Monday, and there will be information and FAQ sheet, as well as other detailed instructions for the state horse show that we will hand out at the district horse show. Graduating seniors will still be able to participate in the state horse show if they so choose. Even though they wouldn't be an enrolled 4-H member, it's just like be the same principle as if they had a livestock project that they're showing at the fair, even after they've graduated, to finish up their 4-H year. So registration will be done online the same way that they do livestock entries for the Tulsa State Fair, August 1st through 31st. And they will only be able to enter the classes that they competed and had a valid score at the district show. So if they DQ'd or chose to not participate in a class or was a no-show, whatever, they will only have access in their menu of the classes that they actually competed and had a valid score for. So that will all be online through the Tulsa State Fair, and they'll have to register with a credit card. No money exchanging hands at the district show for state entries. Yay! That's a win for us. There'll be a lot more information for the state horse show coming, but that's the high points. That don't panic. Yes, you'll be able to participate if you participate in the district show, and entries will go through the Tulsa Fair. Okay, it's been an hour. Thank you guys for participating, and please holler. Well, if you have specific questions about Roundup, I would just direct those to Jeff and Kathy, because what I've told you is pretty much the extent of what I know without having to go look things up. So they would probably be a better resource for you. Again, I would encourage you to register and participate in one of those webinars, especially if you're a newer employee, so that you get all the lowdown. I don't have any idea if they will record one or the other. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, but I would just try to plan to participate if you're available on one of those days. Happy Hump Day. Have a great rest of your week, and we will talk to you soon.